Hello to everyone who's watching me live on YouTube right now. Most welcome once again to the Limitless Show. When we are born, we are all born equal and limitless, but we are not born the same. We are born with our own unique abilities, our own unique traits, patterns, and a lot of unique things which differentiates us from each other. Not to say those differences are never the reason that we cannot become what we want to become. All we require is just the clarity of who we are and where we want to go, and the how is automatically it just gets known, it just gets revealed to us by the universe. So today my guest Dolveen Bhatti, she is a fingerprint analyst, or she works on dermoglyphics, that's what it's called. And she is also a psychologist, she's an NLP master, she's a certified NLP practitioner and a trainer, and she finds peace in her work as a career and life clarity coach. And she calls her superpower to be the fact that she can find a silver lining to any cloud you show her. And then you can't leave her company without a new perspective and a big smile on your face. So, and she believes that I is dynamic. She will talk more about the program she has, which is called the I Dynamics, and which basically takes you from journey of self-discovery to self-invention. And her latest achievement is she is a Mount Kilimanjaro summiter, and which is a part of her ongoing self-invention. Welcome to the Limitless Show, Dolveen. Thank you so much for joining me over here.
Thank you so much for having me over. Thank you so much for having me over, Anshu. It is such a pleasure. Thank you.
It is a pleasure, absolutely. So, Dolveen, when you say the journey from self-discovery to self-invention, what do you mean by that?
Oh, that's an interesting place to start, actually. Normally, this is the end or towards the end of my conversations, but it's a very, very nice place to start, where we have often heard people, and we ourselves have often been on the journey where we want to find out about ourselves. We want to know more about ourselves. Why are we the way we are? Why do we think like that? Or what do I really like? What am I like? How does the world see me? How do I respond to the world? We are living this. It's not as if it is something, it's a mystery for us. We are living this, but we still want to be shown a mirror in which we can actually say, oh, of course, that's me. And anyone who's gone through any of those personality tests that we have in magazines and all, we feel, oh yeah, that's me. So that, or we go into deeper forms of self-discovery where we talk about, say, meditation, or speaking to coaches or counselors or therapy and actually finding out about ourselves more deeply. That I feel self-discovery, this feeling that, oh, that's who I am, is the start point. It is not the end. Because now that I know who I am, it's up to me to choose who I want to be. So that is the journey of from self-discovery to self-invention. Self-discovery is just the start point. It's fantastic to know. It's like, imagine using a GPS. The two most important things when we need to know about in a GPS is where we are and where we want to go. Right? Absolutely. These are the 2 points that Absolutely. We use.
Yes.
Right? And where we are is very important for us to know. Because based on where we are, we can plan our journey on where we want to go. what
Right.
route we will take, what time
Yes.
we will start. Is it a rough journey, long journey, short
Yes.
journey? How do we prepare ourselves?
Yes.
So that's what I talk about when I talk about I dynamics. And the most interesting part is that we do want to discover ourselves, which is beautiful. And like I said, a start point. But the I is constantly changing. And it has been changing. If you look back in time, say even 5 years from now, and you just ask yourselves, who was the I that time? What were you thinking, believing, liking, doing, feeling, wanting to do? What was your surroundings like? 5 years ago, you is not the same that you are right now,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right? And interestingly, the 5 years hence you, the future you is not going to be the same of who you are right now. But sometimes we as human beings, even though recognizing that we have changed from the past to what we are now, end up believing that we will be the same 5 years later as what we are now.
Right.
So there's where Albert Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge.
Absolutely.
So self-invention is a choice. You will change. There is no two ways about that. How we change is actually a power that each one of us has, that imagination each one of us has, the variety of future selves that we can see, and then choose one of them is what differentiates us from other beings and other animals who also have brains. We are different from them because we have the power to imagine and then go to it.
Absolutely.
So knowing who we are, self-discovery, makes it so much more easier to plan self-invention. Yep. So that's what I talk about when I talk about the journey of I being dynamic, hence I dynamics.
Right. Wonderful. So what has your journey been? Because I know for sure that there was some interesting journey. There's a story behind how you got into psychology and then fingerprint analysis.
Okay. So, it's very interesting how in my life, my professional journey and my personal journey were like two parallels. And we were going towards the same place. And it's only now when I look back do I realize this. So I can tell you the story now because I've looked back at it. But when I was in the story, I didn't know that this is what was happening. So if I talk about my professional journey, that how did I come to fingerprint analysis? And I'll talk about how it relates to my personal journey later. So I'm a student of psychology. Since my graduation, since my college days, I have done graduation in psychology. I've done my master's in psychology, a PG diploma in psychology. And psychology has been a place where I have found most ease. Not to find out how people behaved. It was just something which was attractive to me because it made me think about me also. So it was not for how people were behaving, it was more about myself, and psychology was fantastic for me. And being a psychologist, I have worked as a school counselor. So that's where my journey started in my professional field, from being a teacher to a school counselor. And as I was counseling students, I realized that it did take time of theirs and ours when we had to sit and talk about it, that this is an intelligent child. And why are we doing this? Why are we being so silly? Because you're so intelligent in your academics. Then why are we taking these unnecessary risks about being a challenging student as far as discipline is concerned? Or sometimes I would see that the child is actually a very intelligent child. He's sensible, she's sensible, but it is not reflecting in the report cards.
Mm-hmm.
So this was visible to me as I was in my place as a school counselor. Life moved on, and I went on to, I got into career counseling. When I got into career counseling, I was talking to students based on an aptitude test.
Right.
Again, the questions came up as to why is the child in front of me not reflected in the report card? And I'm sure parents who are listening to me, or students actually, we can relate to the fact that where sometimes or the other, we've heard as teachers, we've said that the child is very intelligent, but so it is not only academic intelligence, they're intelligent, but the report card is not reflecting that in marks. And that is a frustrating factor even for the child.
Right.
He's struggling and is not understanding why he is not able to convert that into a report card. So that was one challenge as to why is this not happening? And that's where fingerprint analysis came up for me. Universe sent it to me. The people who I've learned it from, they approached me that this is a science that we have. Would you want to learn it? And why not? Of course. And they came home and they did it for my daughter. Took me through the whole consultation for my daughter, for me to understand that, yes, I can give it a try to understand this. So I'm wired to doubt. I'm wired to ask a lot of questions, and I'm wired to not say yes to things automatically. I take time. They somewhere knew that. They were experts in their field, right? So fingerprint analysis showed me that why and what roadblocks can a person face in spite of, say, having high intelligence. I'm using that as an example. And I'll talk about fingerprint analysis in detail later. Right now, I'm just using it as a term. So when I realized the efficacy of the report, the consultation, the entire science for my own child and for myself, so that's the time I said, fine, we will learn this. Now, once you've learned this is fantastic. I don't even need to meet you. I don't even need to know you. But seeing your fingerprints, I can tell you things about you, which you would probably think that I have sat next to you in your house and invisibly and observed you, and then I'm telling you things. Because it is not me telling you things, it is me finding out things because of the way your brain's wired through your fingerprints and conveying that to you, which is fantastic. But then once I know that these are my strengths and these are my challenge areas, that's the way I'm wired. That's the way I'm born. We are all born differently. That is why we respond to the world
in a different way. Yes.
We all respond. That is why a setback sets somebody really back and really charges up the other person.
Yes.
You know, something exciting excites one person and intimidates the other. So what is it that how are we born? We are wired already. And we're all healthy minds. And we are wired differently. So finding out about my strengths and my challenges is beautiful. But if I have no step forward to tell you about what to do about it, so that is where NLP came into place. So I'm a master NLP coach, and I'm an NLP trainer as well. So only fingerprint analysis was like giving somebody a report of their blood analysis, telling them the numbers. And if I didn't explain what those numbers meant, it would make no sense. And even after explaining those numbers, if I don't tell them what to do about those numbers, how to make sure that you work towards strengthening your strengths and working away where they work for you.
Yes.
How to operate in the world in such a way that you can minimize your challenges or overcome them, or what is the best way to be in spite of those challenges.
Yes.
Self-awareness is actually the biggest step forward.
Yes.
So that is where it came as a full circle. From understanding what holds you back through the fingerprint analysis to understanding how you can come back to what you want to be. So self-discovery is fingerprint analysis, and self-invention is where NLP and psychology takes you forward. So when I coach and when I do a fingerprint analysis consultation, it's a full package. And that makes me feel as if I've done a full job. Not only have I told you, I have also showed ways and means to move forward, because this is what I have done in my life. So that was my professional journey. Now, if I come back to talking about the parallel, that was my life. Interestingly, so I have always known of myself as a person who's laid back. Laid back in the sense that I am not somebody who will rush in to do things.
Right.
I will take it easy. I'm a laid back mom. I take it easy. I'm not very hyper about anything, actually.
Right.
Whatever I do beautifully and fantastically and to my best, but I don't rush in to do it. So if somebody is doing something, I will not say, oh, let me do it. I can do it better. I said, you go ahead and do it. But if you tell me to do it, oh, you will get a fantastic job done. Right. So, and I was happy being that way till the time as we grow older, I did not fit in the label or the exact definition of an active person according to the conventional role model of what people think an active girl or a lady should be. So if I was not running towards the kitchen to work over there, I wasn't making food, I wasn't doing stuff in the house. So as a result, the label of being lazy got stuck. And when you're younger and you kind of come across these labels, you kind of very easily take them on, right? Yes. And that's the label that I've lived with. But I'm also the person who cycles in the morning. I wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock to go out cycling. And I cycle for about 40 to 30 kilometers on a regular basis and about 100 or 50 kilometers on weekends. That's my regular routine. On a regular basis, I walk for about 10 kilometers in a day if I'm not cycling, about 5 in the morning, 5 in the evening. But still the label stays, right? In your mind, the label stays. So my self-discovery through fingerprint analysis was that I'm not a lazy person because I am active. My evidence was there, but the label was still there. It is just that the part of my brain which converts thought into action is average. It takes its own time. It doesn't rush into things. So I will do it in my own time. So that was a big moment of self-discovery for me. But with the label of lazy, the invention that I wanted to do about myself, the future that I saw for myself was an active person. So when I'm old, whatever the old is for me now, when I'm old, the future that I see for myself is a fit, active, physically fit and active older version of me. So even though physical activity is a challenge for me, I know exactly how to deal with it. Making this discovery about myself, I realized that a very simple tweak in my daily routine, if I would wake up in the morning and do a physical activity, I can overcome this average thought into action aspect of my brain. Okay. And that has impacted, and that will impact for other people also who might be in this category. And there are many. That will impact not only your personal life, it will also impact your work because the brain gets activated. Right. So as a result, when I decided to do that, I saw tremendous change in the way I am as a professional, the way I am as an individual, and it was quite in sync with the future me that I was seeing. So hence, the flow of self-discovery to self-invention professionally was psychology, fingerprint analysis, NLP. And for myself also, it was from the label of lazy to being active to the future self me, which is a healthy, active, fit individual.
Right. You suddenly got mute. I can't hear
Did
you.
I?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, yep. I suddenly kept quiet because I was like, yeah, that was the journey.
Okay, great. So I have a couple of comments which I see over here. One is from
Okay.
Ashima Bhardwaj. She says, glad to see you, Dolveen ma'am. Excited to listen to you. And Utkarsh Jhansi is there. He says, happy to listen to you again, ma'am. So I guess these are some of your students.
There are people who are now well established in their own lives, and I've known them for a while now, for years. Utkarsh, I know since he was a young boy, and now he's a dashing young officer in the Merchant Navy. And Ashima is a young budding psychologist. So yeah, hello. I'm so glad you are here.
Glad. So is now the next question is basically is, I mean, when we talk about fingerprint analysis and awesome journey, I think the way you sorted the professional and the personal, and how it made so much sense, because we all have certain labels that are given to us while we are growing up, depending on what kind of traits we display in the public and to our family. By default, certain labels are put on us, whether it's negative, positive, whatever it is. So what is this fingerprint all I mean, is it something similar to maybe palmistry, maybe astrology kind of a thing, where people tell you, I mean, they look at your janam kundli and they tell you that, okay, this is how you are.
Okay, so may I just take some time to explain what fingerprint
Yes,
analysis really is?
absolutely.
Because when I look around, I do realize that there's not much of information about this and where it comes from. So to talk about our fingers and the relationship of the fingerprints, the tip of our fingers, with our brain, when the baby's in the womb from the week 13 to week 19 of gestation, the brain lobes and the fingerprints are kind of formed at the same time. That is why there is a correlation between them. And this correlation has been established through extensive research over the years. And the research goes back to 1850s, where for the first time people actually realized this correlation. And of course, since
Amazing.
then to now, it has been developed and it has been honed and it has been more sophisticated. The research
Right,
has
more fine
come.
tuning has been done. Yeah.
So now our brain has two hemispheres. This is established research, which almost everybody kind of knows. Our brain has two hemispheres, the left and the right, and it has 5 lobes to it. We have the prefrontal, the frontal, the parietal, temporal, and the occipital, the brain.
Right.
And so 2 hemispheres, 5 lobes, that's a total of 10. Each of these lobes has specific functions. Even that is established research, because we know that our right hand corresponds to our left side of the brain, and our left hand corresponds to our right side of the brain. And what are these functions? If I was to take a moment to talk about them according to my fingers right now, our right thumb, these two, this is the prefrontal. And right thumb is your relationship with yourself, your self-belief, and everything to do with how you relate to your own self. And the left thumb, the print, has the indications of your interpersonal skills, your leadership, your social skills, and a very important aspect of intuition. How intuitive you are comes from your left thumb. Talking about the forefingers, this corresponds to your frontal brain. This is your logic. The right finger talks about logic, planning, strategy, your comfort with numbers. How can you plan what to do next? That comes from logic. And your left finger talks about imagination. You're seeing the unseen. So what is not in front of you? So imagination is a big power that we have, and it comes from, it doesn't come from, sorry, it is reflected in your left fingerprint, left first finger fingerprint. Your middle fingers is the right middle finger is your fine motor movement, your ability to work with your fingers minutely. Your ability to maybe play some minute instruments, string instruments,
Right.
your ability to sketch, draw, paint, chop vegetables,
Sculpt.
all of that.
Yes.
Yes, and your control of your your facial expressions. So any fine muscle movement comes from is reflected in your middle finger, right? And the gross motor movement is in your left hand. Gross motor movement is also the brain's ability for requirement for action, mobility. For me, I was talking about this is average,
Right.
right? So for people who this is high, they're more about sports and movement and dances. So they will do well in all of that areas.
Right.
This, the ring fingers, right, is about language. How you are, how comfortable you are in learning languages and using languages. That comes from your right middle ring finger, and your left ring finger talks about your connection with music and emotions. Your little fingers, the right one, talks about your connect with nature and your attention to detail, your sense of smell, touch, and taste, and everything related to that. Your ability or your inclination towards reading also comes from here. And your little finger on the left side is your visuals. So that is you're seeing the scene. So if imagination is seeing the unseen, this visual is seeing the scene. How the environment impacts you. How would you like to have your environment? That comes from here. Now, a fingerprint analysis gives you an analysis of all these brain functions qualitatively and quantitatively.
Right.
Qualitatively comes from the type of fingerprint, and quantitatively comes from the strength of which comes from the number of ridges that you have on a fingerprint. Right. So that is indicative of how strong that function is for your own brain. Right. We have three main fingerprints. They are, if you are people who are watching it now, if you look at your fingers, you'd probably see loops where the lines come in and go out, which is a most common pattern which we all have. Thank you, God, for that, because this is indicative on a very broad way as people who are flexible and relationship oriented. So I'm so glad it's the most common, because that's how we are human beings, right? The second, but slightly lesser common, is a whirl, where if you would look at your fingerprint, it has circles in it.
Right.
It has. Yes. So that is a whirl. And finally, the most rare, which is present in about 6% of the population, is a print called the arc, where the lines you will see will just come and go out. They don't form a loop. They don't form a circle. They flow in and they flow out. Wow. Each of these prints has 7 to 8 subtypes. And all of them have their own characteristic. And all of them in the different fingerprint, in the different fingers that they might be exhibited, have their own characteristic. So now that is why when they say that our fingerprints are not alike, are unique, interestingly, fingerprints of your left hand and your right hand are equally unique. In fact, none of your fingerprints are the same. They're not identical. Research shows that even the twins born out of the same cell, the monozygotic twins, even they don't have identical fingerprints. Right. They are genetic, but there's enough research to show that fingerprint formation is also impacted by the environment around you in the first trimester. So when we say that in the first trimester of pregnancy, the ladies should be happy and taken care of, and yes, all of that, that has a direct impact on the baby in the womb, which is visible to us now very, very easily because we have fingerprints and we have this analysis. So it tells you not only about your brain functions and the strength of it in you, it also talks about what kind of health concerns you could be careful about. In fact, if I take science, go towards science a bit, Fingerprints is the easiest and the most economical way of identifying people who are predisposed to certain type of cancers. Women and breast cancer, there's a strong correlation between a certain type of fingerprint present in the fingers and ladies who are predisposed to this. Ladies or people who are predisposed to, say, blood pressure or acidity or cholesterol and overweight issues. You might be a slim, trim person right now, but if you're not careful, that is all indicative. That is all available from a simple fingerprint analysis.
Amazing.
That's a very, very broad way. And its uses are obviously multiple. So now coming back to your question, I cannot talk much about palmistry or astrology because I'm not an expert in that. So fingerprints will not tell you what you will do. It is not predictive, not at all. It will tell you what you can do, what you have the capability of. And whether you put in the effort, the practice, the awareness into that capability and hone it into something really strong for yourself is completely a choice that you will make. So you're born with this, you're born with the power. What you do with that power is up to you. So that is where I think it's slightly different, where I can't tell you what you will do. You could choose to do nothing, and you could still be blessed with amazing fingerprints, amazing strength in your brain, which is available for us to see through your fingerprints.
Right. True. Yep. I think what you're talking about is ultimately, in life also people keep doing, different courses, they're taking different degrees and, going to different coaches. But end of the day, it's only up to that. Finally, what they do with the learnings, how they implement it in their life is what's going to take you forward, because no one can get into your shoes, become you, and take the action. So I think it all boils down to that. As a fingerprint analyst, you can just tell them that these are the things, this is the analysis of the personality that you're born with. This is the person that you are. Now, how are you going to take it forward is totally upon, I think, them.
And it's very interesting where your sense of self, that has a strong, so when you said about people taking up courses, we end up doing a lot of hit and try. We think that if I take a very simple example of procrastination, we all have had our experience with procrastination.
It's a major issue, in fact. Yes.
It's a major issue. And we all, most of us have had issues with this. And when we talk about it, so if I take a session, say on procrastination, and I have an audience of about 100, I could give you tips as a coach. I could give you ways and techniques, and they are techniques. Internet is full of that.
Yes.
But how do I know where is my procrastination coming from? My procrastination was coming from the fact that that aspect in my brain, the left middle finger, which talks about gross motor movement, that was average. So my way, and I could have used any sort of tips that you gave me, but it would not have worked unless I didn't wake up in the morning and did that physical activity, which procrastination, hello, bye-bye. Is your procrastination coming from low self-belief? Is it coming from lack of logic or low logic? Is it coming from a lack of or average imagination where you don't understand your time management or the impact of time? So where is the procrastination coming from?
Yes.
Because we know that, it's so much easier to give you a specified technique and to help you reach a strategy which will work for you specifically. So this has tremendous implications, say, in studies.
Yes.
For study skills, it is amazing because you come to know how you learn. So as a result, you also understand how will you learn the best? What are the study skill tips that you could use? It works well for parenting, for teachers to understand how to teach a certain child the best way. So all of that comes here. So when you mention the fact that people take up courses, and it's a lot of hit and try.
Yes.
even for hobbies. I mean, we all need to have hobbies so that we kind of use that when we are relaxing. But
Right.
what is my hobby?
Yes.
We have parents taking children to all sorts of places. We have older people try to do all sorts of things. This can tell you exactly what you are wired to do. But a word of caution over here, just because you are endowed with this as a skill in you, does not mean that the moment you pick up a guitar, you will start to play it beautifully. You will still have to practice. It is just that something that somebody else will learn in 6 days, you probably will end up learning in 2 days.
Yes.
Because you have the skill in you
Yes.
already, you have the innate in you already.
Yes, absolutely.
That's very important for us to realize.
Right. So that also brings up another question that doesn't knowing what you are put you in a box of labels? So now that I have consulted you, I came to you, you did an analysis, you told me all these things, and say, suppose it's me whose middle finger is, showing that, my thought converts to action very late. Now I
Okay.
know about this and I've been facing procrastination. And now I just go ahead and I'm like, okay, so I'm born with this kind of a thing. So I can't do anything about it. So that is the reason why I am like this. So I make that as an excuse. I put that label on myself and that's it.
I'm so glad that you've asked me this question, because often when I talk about this with people who are interested, and that's a commonly asked question for me, where won't it demotivate me?
Yes.
That why should I even try?
Yes.
Because I'm born like this.
I'm born like this.
Yes. So that is why when you mentioned in the very beginning the journey of self-discovery to self-invention, you're born like this, but you don't want to stay like that. And why is that? Because that is just one aspect of your brain. Your logic might be super strong. You might be an awesomely creative person. So even that aspect of yours is wanting attention, is wanting to be expressed. That is why you're not happy being what you are already. Because if you were, you wouldn't even approach a fingerprint analyst to understand how you are. That is always in the quest of how do I be what I want to be?
Yes.
Because the wanting to be is coming from other aspects as well. So that's just one aspect, which might be a challenge, a roadblock, not a roadblock, maybe a speed breaker. Roadblock blocks you, speed breaker is just slows you down. So it might be a speed breaker. It might be a rough patch of the road that you need to be aware of. But the labels that you carry are the ones that you choose to carry, even as you go forward towards your future self. So if you're not happy with them, I have techniques to share with you, which you can, and together we can finalize on a few which you could try out. You would try them out because somewhere deep inside, that's the other aspects of you, are not happy not being expressed. So in fact, knowing what my challenges are, or from a different perspective, the most motivating things to do. You want to go to the mall to watch a movie, and you've been told that the traffic is a lot on that road.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it depends upon how badly you want to go and watch that movie.
Correct.
Do you let that idea drop completely? You were not even interested in that movie in the first place. You'll be very happy to take that excuse off the traffic and not go. But oh my Lord, you want to go because you have friends over there, you love that mall, you plan for a meal out there, and you know that going there is going to make you feel so good on so many levels. So what will you do? Oh, extra traffic. You'll start earlier. You will probably pack up some snacks to take me on the journey, so that even if I miss my evening tea, I know I can eat something in the car and go. You will prepare yourself. You will look at the GPS and plan. So it depends upon what is your vision of your self-invention. Coming back to imagination is the tool that you have. If you're not using it to invent yourselves, then we are not doing ourselves any good.
Right. True. I have a question from Utkarsh. He says, ma'am, please advise what will be the best age to do fingerprint analysis?
Oh, okay. So scientifically, you can start this as young as 2 to 3 years of age, scientifically, and it can go on to whatever age. What would be the benefit of starting off early? Is that it gives you a lot of inputs as to how to handle your child from the parenting aspect.
Yes.
There are some children who are born who are very happy being handheld,
Yes.
being given directions. In fact, the other day I was having a conversation with this other friend, and she said, and she's our age, so our age is like really above. So she just mentioned that, like, I like hand holding.
Yes.
And it was easy for her to accept even at her age. So there are some children who like that, and there are some who are quite self-motivated.
Yes. Independent, self-motivated.
Yes. So for that child, if the parent is hand-holding a bit too much, there's going to be conflict.
Yes.
And the parent will wonder that, why is this child not listening to me? The child is very arrogant. He's not disciplined. He's not listening. And the child will feel, what's the matter with the parent? The parent doesn't have faith in me. And that can cause a lot of issues in the child.
Yes.
And in that relationship. So it can go as young as that. So parenting, of course, to understand how you study, how you learn, what hobbies you could take up, it has indications for all of this. So yep, scientifically, you could go as early as 2 to 3 years. By that time, your fingerprints are formed completely and they're visible. They're easy to take.
And it's very easy to even find out whether you're an auditory person or you're a kinesthetic,
absolutely
visual.
Learning.
So what kind of teaching should be there, even that becomes very relevant to your mode of learning.
Absolutely. It has a lot of implications in, so if I was to talk about where all it can be used, broadly, of course, personal growth, that can be used for us at any age. Any age is a good age to start, yes. No matter how old we are. It has tremendous implications on education, where we come to know about what courses are suitable for us, what subjects, what study skills, what could be our challenges in studies, what kind of learners are we. It has tremendous implications in compatibility counseling, couple compatibility, right. Parenting, of course, I just explained. It has a lot of implications in the corporate sector as well, where recruitment, assessment, planning of your trainings, leadership, all of that is this has a lot of use in that area as well. So what training will be suitable for what person based on their career graph? Where would they want to go? Where does the company want to see them go? Does this person need more training in leadership? Does this person need more training in, say, interpersonal skills and communications, and how to deal with that, how to approach that aspect of theirs? All of that is from a simple fingerprint analysis.
Amazing. So I hope, Utkarsh, your question has been answered. And so let's move on to the next one. And so we now know a lot about what fingerprint analysis is, and thank you for giving such detailed, wisdom, sharing that wisdom with us, because now I think we are very, very clear about it. So now, how has it helped you in your own life? I understand that you got to know what were the challenges that you were born with. So now, what were some of the decisions that you took that were prompted because of this knowledge about yourself?
Okay. So firstly, what decisions would have been impacted? Had I known this earlier, I would have probably entered psychology with a more strong frame of mind, rather than, oh, this is something that I like to do. Because the way I am wired, I am perfectly suited, thank you, God, for doing what I do. So being a psychologist, a coach, interacting with people, that is my strength. So, but how have I benefited from knowing about this knowing about myself through this after I came to know. Very small things, but they're so powerful. For example, one I've already shared about my label of lazy being dropped. My strongest strength is verbal, and I have a high logic. Now, I can say that unapologetically because I'm not being pompous. That's the way my brain's wired. Where I use my logic is a separate issue. And I have something called a reverse. So there are some prints which flow in the reverse. They have the whole set of characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
So my logic has a reverse in it. So now a combination of high verbal and a high logic with a reverse in it makes me somebody who's very easily sarcastic.
Right.
So it gives me a very good sense of humor as well. So I can do that very well, and I have a good sense of humor, but it can also make me very easily sarcastic, which I have been. I was.
Right.
And I could not, and I would use this power of words that I have with me, that the language being my topmost strength. It brought me a lot of, as a teacher, as a counselor, my words were very strong and I could connect with people also. I know that. But at one point, when I realized this, that I can get sarcastic. It is somewhere where that's the way my brain's wired. I became even more careful as to how I use my words. Because of the reverse in my logic, I'm a person who finds faults. It just comes to me. So you can give me a document, so verbal high and logic high, and fault finding high. You give me a document and I will find mistakes in it. If they are, of course. If they're not, then obviously not. But in case there's something that you have missed, I will not miss it. So had I been an editor, I would have been fantastic at that also. But the fault finding was a drawback because it did not make me a very open person. So the moment somebody, and I'm talking about me, say about 10 years ago, the moment somebody would give me a new plan, the first thing I would see is I would find faults in the plan. Where my logic is working beautifully. I can convey that in my words, but I did not give myself the time for the other person to explain the plan and then see it as a whole. Because seeing things as a whole, again, is logic is higher, imagination is lesser than the logic. Still high, but lesser. So knowing this now as an individual, instinctively my brain will do something, but as an individual, because I've trained myself, I'm like, calm down, brain, take a moment, let me hear this out.
Right.
And that has helped me tremendously in arguments, in relationships, in meeting new people, in interacting with them, in understanding new plans, in planning new things. That has made me a more open person because now I know that instinctively I will do this. So hence, that's 2-3 ways that it has helped me.
Awesome. So getting to know actually the practical usability helps.
There might be people, if I might just take a moment over here, that who have very high imagination and logic as well.
Yes.
Because these are the things that have strong impact on our lives and how we take ourselves forward.
Right.
That is why I'm not talking about language or emotions. I'm talking about these two mainly because they are our thought zone.
Right.
So if my imagination is very high, I might think of a very big picture. And I might not look at the small steps. Me, in contrast, I will look at, tell me what to do today and tomorrow. Don't give me a big picture. So this also helps us to understand how to interact with other people.
Right.
So if we want to plan something, I am fantastic in a team where other team members are all big picture thinkers. Then I'm the one who will come, okay, let's plan what we have to do today. So all of us are not big.
Right.
So that makes a fantastic combination when you have both of these strengths in your team.
Yes, I
People who can
totally
think
agree.
big and people who think, let's talk about what we do today. So planning strategy.
Absolutely. The
So
strategies, the small
yes,
details. Yeah.
the step one.
Step one. And then to step two, three. How do we go about it?
Yes. So I am the person who will talk about the step one.
Hmm.
So I probably need to interact more with people who talk about the big strategy.
Yes.
So that they in my team will help me understand that aspect, and me in their team will help them understand. Let's take it step one, step two. So
Hmm.
every aspect of ours. So whenever I've spoken about this, that okay, your logic is high or your emotion is high. So, ma'am, is that good or bad? I've been asked this often, that is that good or bad? It is both, because every aspect of ours will have a positive side and will
Absolutely.
have a not so
Negative
positive.
side. Yes.
So if
Yes.
imagination is high, is this good or bad? It's awesome because your creativity comes from your imagination.
Yes.
It's a thing to be taken care of because your anxiety also comes from imagination.
Imagination. Unnecessary
See, and
imagination. Yes.
yes, so they say that worst use of imagination is anxiety.
Yes.
So there's good and there is not so good.
Yes.
So it works on both the
I
ways.
think the universal principle itself, it's the law of the universe. One of the principle is the law of polarity. So I think everything
Yeah,
comes with that polar sides. I mean,
right.
you can take up anything. And that's
And
why
it,
they say moderation is the best policy, never the extremes of anything. Because nothing is
absolutely
good, nothing is bad till it's done in moderation.
true. So you have it all within you, and to understand that it's there, how do you use it is totally up to you. One
Absolutely.
thing that one more thing about fingerprint analysis that I would want to share over here is that when we see a report and the qualitative part of it, the strength part of it, when I say it is average for me, it is average for me in connection with my other brain lobes, my other brain functions. It is not low or average as compared to somebody else. In fact, my average could be higher than somebody else's high.
Absolutely.
So that is one thing that I would
Absolutely.
want to clear, that it is not in comparison with anybody like
But
we
with
have in
yourself.
average,
Yes.
but it is just within yourself. So
Yes.
we all have it in us. We all have
Yes.
everything in us. That's just
Yes.
a thing that I want to say. Yeah.
So I have Ashima asking a question that after working on one's traits, do fingerprints also show changes?
No, fingerprints don't
Don't
change.
change.
Fingerprints don't change. In fact, I was doing research that they said that it was in 1892, somewhere there, where the first time people started to use fingerprints as a mark of identification and signature. Though Chinese have been using it since past 3,000 years. So fingerprints don't change.
Right.
These are things that we live with. We learn to live with them. That is why we all have our unique challenges. And that's where self-invention comes into play, that how you
Absolutely.
work on yourself. So
Yes.
yeah, fingerprints don't shift at all.
Yeah. You will see a shift in your life, not in your
Yeah,
fingerprints.
no,
Yes.
not at fingerprints.
Right.
So it's a call you make. It's a choice. Self-invention, I is a choice
Yes.
that you want to take forward. So that's a very strong belief that I hold.
Right.
For a lazy me to go up Mount Kilimanjaro was a choice that I made, because that's the kind of invention towards which I want to go.
In
So it's a
fact, that
call
is
that,
my next question to
okay,
you. So tell us more about your conquering the Mount Kilimanjaro. What was the experience like and how did you prepare for it? How long was it?
okay. So it was an 8-day expedition,
Mm-hmm.
and in which we took 5 days, 6 days to just go uphill.
Mm-hmm.
And it took 5 days because, or 6 days, because we were acclimatizing to the height that we were gaining every day.
Mm-hmm.
And 7th day was our summit day. And we came down on the 7th day halfway through, and 8th day we were home by the afternoon.
Right.
That's said in a very short manner. We walked for a total of 8 days, a total of 70 kilometers. We gained a height of, Kilimanjaro's height is 5,895 meters. That's about a 19,000 plus feet. And it is the highest peak in Africa and the highest freestanding mountain in the entire world. How did I prepare for it? Well, fortunately, because I was already cycling and walking, I made sure that I was walking on a regular basis and walking on off-road walking, where we were not walking only on the road on a flat surface, we were going up and down. So anytime we would see an underpass, we would make sure that we would walk up and down that underpass at least for an hour, just to get used to the incline and the decline walk, wearing our trekking boots, because we were to get used to those boots, wearing our trekking gear as well. Where did this thought come from? So my husband has that aspect which is average for mine. His is very high. And it was his idea that let's go for, he wanted to go and climb Kilimanjaro because we are right now in Uganda and Kilimanjaro is kind of next door for us. So it's in Tanzania. So we said, he said, I want to go. And the thought that came to my mind was like, yeah, I'll also go. That's it. It wasn't and I didn't think far into the future. So that's where lack of imagination, being slightly average, comes into play for me, that I didn't think it too much about how will I do it? What will the struggle be? How will I didn't. I was just like, okay, let's do it. Step one, let's start walking every day. So the trek in itself, the first 6 days have now become one big bunch of days of walking. This trek is very unique because you get to walk through all the 4 vegetation zones. So starting from the rainforests to the heatherland and the moors to the alpine desert, you walk through all of them. That was beautiful to see the scenery around you changing. From day 3, we were above the clouds.
Wow.
We could not see the ground below because we couldn't see the city lights or anything because we had a cloud cover. Fortunately, it didn't rain. So, but we were above the clouds. That was surreal in a way. The summit day, now that trek starts at midnight of the 6th and the 7th day. So 7th day, early morning, 12 o'clock, you start because you want to see the sunrise. You want to see the sunrise at the summit. And that day, we walked for a total of 20 hours. And I am not exaggerating. I still have blue toes from my walk downhill from that. And we gained a height of 4,100 feet in one go. We walked very slowly and we just kept walking. It was a steep uphill. But reaching the summit was not amazingly and very high, adrenal high, euphoric moment for me. It was a very simple, smooth, soft, yes moment for me. That is the day I finally shed my lazy label. I now will do whatever I do in walking and cycling and trekking in future for the fun of it, for the pleasure of it, not to prove to myself that I'm not lazy. So that was the inner summit that I conquered, the limiting beliefs that we conquer. So that was that for me. That was an amazing journey.
Beautiful.
And I'm so glad that we could do it.
Nice. So what was your learning from this experience about the workings of the universe, and most importantly about yourself? What did you discover?
Right. So what I discovered was it's your journey. It is not a race. So not only in real life, this is something that we say so often. It's so interesting that when you ask this question to so many people, we hear these similar answers, and then you find that, why didn't I have some earth-shattering different uh, life lesson? Because these are life lessons which are so simple and yet so easy to forget. And that is where all the stress also comes from, when we're trying
Yes.
to believe this.
Compete with others as if you are a part of a race.
And nobody's competing with you. It's in your own mind.
It's in your own mind.
The interesting part is it is in your own mind. So it's your own journey. And even on the trek towards Kili, on those 8 days of trekking, there were times when people passed you by because you were taking it easy. And there were days you passed by people because they were taking it easy.
Absolutely.
And taking it easy was different for everybody for their own reasons. On the summit day, we walked very slowly because my overriding point was that I do not want to get out of breath, because at that height where the oxygen is so low, if you get out of breath, where do you get your breath back from?
Right.
So as a result, we didn't have to use oxygen at all, external oxygen, where we're carrying oxygen tanks. We didn't have to use them. That was, for me, my definition of success for that climb was that I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it peacefully, calmly, without stress on myself and without regret of why am I doing it? I didn't want to feel that.
Right.
My definition of success was that. Somebody else's might have been that I want to do it in a certain amount of time.
Yes.
And they were working it accordingly.
Yes.
And they faced their consequences. I faced my consequences for my definition. I reached later. I had to walk longer hours, not longer distance. I had to walk longer hours because I was slower.
Yes.
That other individual might have walked for lesser hours, but might have taken oxygen.
Yes.
That's, so that's one very, very major life lesson for me, which was kind of reiterated for me, to myself and for the world, that at your own pace. It's your journey. And we all talk about law of attraction. We all talk about gratitude. We all talk about visualize it and it will happen, but these are things that till the time you don't actually experience them, you just think that they're just things. But we need to believe that the universe is working for you, and what is meant for you will come to you. Obviously, we have to keep walking towards it. After my climb to Kilimanjaro and back, as we were coming down and my husband and I were chatting, we were walking and chatting. We could do that because I was slow on the downhill. I have weak knees, so they ache when we come down. That's when I came to know that Kilimanjaro has about a 50 to a 65% success rate. I was like, really? What? So, and for a variety of reasons. So it's that time. And after coming back, and when you look back, you realize what all could have gone wrong. So many things could have gone wrong. One wrong step taken, ankle sprained, water less had headaches. You could have mountain sickness, altitude sickness very easily. You could not acclimatize properly. There could have been so many reasons. People far fitter to have attempted and not reached the summit. So for me to attempt my first hike, trek ever, and be able to reach the summit in the first attempt, the universe wanted this to happen. So yes, universe works for you. Send out gratitude for whatever comes your way. Realize the miracles that are around you. Sounds very, it's true. It works. It works. Visualize your success and it works. What's for you cannot be held back. It will come.
Totally
with these two things in mind, I think when you move forward and you take control of the choice of the I that you are, because I is dynamic, there is no way you can stop your flow of self-invention in the direction that you choose. It's all a matter of taking that commitment and making that commitment to yourself.
Yes.
So yeah.
I have a few other comments from Ishani Vajpayee. She says, hello, Dolveen ma'am. I have always looked up to you and your journey has been so inspiring. Looking forward to meeting you whenever you are in India next. Prateek Saxena says, glad to listen to you and your recent conquest of Mount Kilimanjaro. Proud.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure knowing that people that you know are listening to you. So that's a credit to you. Thank you so much, Anshu, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Such a
I'm
pleasure.
feeling so glad that they are really, you have inspired them in the past and they are getting inspired by you once again. So now last question for this round, and then we move on to a shorter round after this is,
Okay.
do you believe in the limitlessness of the human potential? And if yes, who according to you is limitless?
Oh, okay. Do I believe in it? Of course I believe in it. I mean, I've just spoken about the whole idea of self-discovery to self-invention. And when you have imagination as a superpower that we all have, we can choose to be. Now, it is our definition of the word limit, and hence our definition of the word limitless. And who is limitless is the one who believes that they are. The limits are the glass ceiling that we put on ourselves.
Yes.
And my limit and your limit might not be the same. It
Might
is
not be the
definitely
same. Yes.
So the moment you realize that you can do what you want to do, as long as you put in that amount of effort, you become limitless. So a simple thing, even if you wake up at say 5:30 for a walk or a round of meditation or to read a book or to do nothing, but just because you wanted to wake up at 5:30, where all your life you've believed that early morning is not for me.
Not for me. Yes.
Yep. So the moment you wake up at 5:30, breaking that limit, you are limitless because you've just left that limit behind.
Yes.
Hence, you are limitless. So every time you keep a promise to yourself and you fulfill that promise, you've left a limit behind, you have become limitless. It is not a mountain peak that on top of it is standing the limitless badge or limitless trophy. No, it's on every day basis. One day spent without being angry, when you have been an angry person, you've become limitless. Limitless is every day. And who is limitless? Well, you and I. Who else?
Absolutely.
It's always you and I.
Yes. If you just believe you're limitless, you are limitless. Because as you rightly said, the limits are the caps we have put on ourselves, no one else.
And it's a daily coin to be collected.
Yes.
Of being limitless. It's not the topmost trophy to be won at the end of our lives.
No, not at all. I always tell people limitlessness is not a destination. It's always a journey.
Yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
the moment you shed a limit, yeah, awesome. Yes.
We move on to our next round.
Oh, okay.
And it will be a more fun round.
Okay.
So I'll ask you certain questions and you can just give me short answers. So if you had an option to be reborn as someone else, who would it be? Not yourself, someone else, who would it be?
Okay. I would want to be born as a human being. Okay, that's very important for me to know. I would want to be born as a human being who knew what all I know now much earlier. So yeah. So
So
what
you're
I
not
did,
choosing anyone else. You're still choosing yourself.
I'm still choosing myself. Okay, because yep. I have a few friends who are in that category who knew about themselves the way I know about myself now, much earlier. So I could take a few names, but then that wouldn't make sense over here. But yes, as a human being who knew self
Things
more
earlier,
as an earlier
more of
person.
self-discovery earlier. Yes. Please share any blooper from your life that left you embarrassed.
Oh yeah, I can do that. Right. So when I was my first day at my first job, when I was a teacher, I entered the senior most class of my school, and that was at that point in time class 10. And here I was all charged up to explain everything to everybody, and the entire class, the entire period went by, and I thought it was my first job ever. So my first professional experience ever. And I thought I had done a very good job of those 40 minutes, to realize as I finished my class and said, I will see you tomorrow, that I hadn't removed the bag that was hanging on my shoulder. And I was like, okay. So I reached out to the table to pick up the bag. You know how it is when you're leaving, you
Yes.
automatically pick up your bag. And I was like, oh, I've had it here all the time. Now I knew why the kids in the back bench were smiling. I was like, why are they smiling? I'm doing nothing wrong. So that has left me. I wish I could go back and change that. Yeah, that was weird. Very weird for me.
So, to make you, feel good right now. So I have your father here, SS Bhatti, and he
Oh,
says, Dolveen Beta, I'm listening to you with pride. Bang on. There are no limits for you, Papa.
oh, that is thank you, God. Thank you, Anshu, for this opportunity. My God, thank you. How you impact lives, you never know. So, yep, thank you. This interview has impacted my life on the variety of levels. Thank you.
I'm glad. So next, what's your favorite style of dressing?
Oh, skirts or dresses.
Okay.
I would love to wear that with nice accessories on. Yes, my
Yes.
earrings, my bracelets, and a skirt or a dress. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Define Dolvin for us in 2 lines.
Okay. High energy and acceptance. You say 2 lines, I will give you 2 words. Acceptance.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yes, I am acceptance, unconditional. Yep.
Beautiful. That's strong. These 2 words are pretty strong. So now, top 3 books that you would recommend to the people who are watching you.
Okay. So for me, interestingly, every book that I read leaves a strong impact. And I have yet to read a book where I felt that, oh, that was a waste of time.
Mhm.
So I could talk about books that I've read recently, which have left an impact strongly.
Mhm.
One book that I've read recently and which is very, very powerful, I feel, is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yes. Dr. Joe
Joe
Dispenza.
Dispenza. Amazing book.
I love this man. He is
Yes,
amazing. Yes.
he is my so that book has I would recommend it to everybody.
Yes.
A book which always stays with me because it was my first study on self-development or self-help or whatever you call this line of work that we have, this beautiful line of personal growth that we work in, is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Mr. Robin Sharma.
Robin Sharma, he does such a wonderful job of talking about such profound concepts in such a simple language, in such a easy way to understand, that book I feel is a must read for. So whenever somebody asks me how do I start reading or what do I start reading,
Mhm.
Monk Who Sold His Ferrari comes to my mind the first. So that is that. The third book is, let me see. No, I think I'll stick with these two books right now.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, I'll stick with these two books right now.
If you didn't have to worry about people laughing or criticizing you, what would you love to do in public?
In public, oh my God, that has never been an issue for me. So that's a tough one for me to ask, because what would I love to do in public? I would love to sing more often. I sing
At the top of your voice?
at the top of my voice. So whenever I do sing on the top of my voice. And I have sung in public, but I would do that more often. Yes, I would.
And by public, I meant not like you're in a gathering. I mean, just anywhere, on the roads, anywhere.
Oh, yes,
Unabashed.
Singing, because I've done it for a gathering, I've done it in for a big audience, but singing is, I feel, such a superpower. I would sing, yes.
Amazing.
I would sing.
One of your most favorite movies?
One of my most favorite movies would be, let me see. Oh, this is, when it comes like that, it catches you with by a surprise, but there's a movie called Broken Arrow.
Okay.
I like that. I can watch that a number of times. And there's a movie called My Cousin Winnie.
Yes, My Cousin Winnie, I've seen.
I could watch that and it makes me smile, makes me laugh.
Yes, yes.
Every time.
Yes.
I think that movie, it is so amazing. And the characters and the way they evolve in the whole movie, I love that. So these two are, I think, Broken Arrow for the action of it, and My Cousin Winnie for the humor of it.
Amazing. What are your top 3 priorities in life?
Okay. My top priority in life is me. Is me, myself, I. Because if that is not a priority, other priorities don't get looked after at all.
Right. And the number 2 and the 3?
Number 2 is family. And number 3 is work.
Right.
Yep.
One of the people who have really, really inspired you in this life?
Okay. That is such a tough answer to give, that one person who has inspired me. There are so many. There's so many. But if I was to talk about one person, I would say, and if I was to take my idea of the journey of self-invention, I would say I'm very inspired by my father. And because I've seen him, okay, that's my father-in-law, because I've seen him change professions as easily as we change shirts. And every profession that he has taken up, he has done such an amazing job of it. The way he's reinvented himself each and every time he's shifted professions, from an army officer to a corporate person to an entrepreneur, all these has been, it's inspirational for me, because it is one thing that I would want to do irrespective of the age that I am at. So that is one thing. So anytime I see anybody who reinvents themselves, that is an inspiration for me. But to see it happening in front of my eyes 3 times in front of my eyes after my marriage, I think it's amazing. Yep.
Beautiful. Which aspect of yourself are you working on currently?
Wow, you're asking some really, okay, and I promise to be honest, self-doubt. The aspect of myself that I'm working on currently is that there is a self-invention thing that I want to do. And I know I will do it. And I know how to do it. And I'm just talking to my part of my brain, which brings up the self-doubt in me. I'm just dealing with it right now that, okay, calm down, calm down. So I'm working on that one right now, as of right now. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. So being so authentic, being so transparent and honest. I appreciate all your honesty. And any last messages, Dolveen, that you have for the people who are watching you right now?
I would go back to what I said, which I hadn't planned, was that become limitless in every day that you are in. That's it.
Yes.
And you do that, it becomes, some days you will succeed, some days you will not, but it's okay. So try and do that and invent self-discovery, self-invention. I controls I is a choice. Make that choice.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure hosting you here, and I loved every minute of our conversation.
Thank you
And
so
I know
much,
you have
Anshu.
inspired so many people today. So, and so many people who are going to watch the recording later on.
Thank you for this opportunity. It really means a lot. And thank you, God, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. So, people, I really hope it was a phenomenal conversation. We had Dolveen, who was very, very authentic, very, very real. You know, she shared all the places which people tend to kind of, completely keep in shadows and not come out with them. But I think her sharing has only meant that you take a leaf from there and you understand we all have our shadows that we need to turn around and we need to work on them and be our limitless selves every single day, because limitlessness is not a destination. It's always a journey in every small decision that you take in your life. As she rightly said, from, a thing like waking up early in the morning and not snoozing your alarm and sleeping off a little more, to what you want to eat every single day, how you want to show up even though you're not feeling well. Every single choice that you make in your day makes you limitless and stacks up on that limitless life that you want to live for yourself. So with all the blessings, I want to say good night to you, and I'll see you once again with another phenomenal guest next week. So see you on Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.